Okay, welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast, the Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney. Apologies for the delay, but as you can see, there's a little bit of a different setting. Larry, you're alive and well, keeping well?
Yeah, I'm in our new studio, Tom. So I hope you and the listeners enjoy it. The studio, also known as my car. But you know what? When you go to the pub, you generally go in the car first. So we'll just say it's in theme.
Definitely, but appreciate everyone in the live chat. I'll just get to a few because we've got a lot to dissect on tonight's episode. So we'll just say good evening to a few people in the chat. Jamie, over one of our good listeners from Northern Ireland, hope you're keeping well. George, as always, good to see you, mate. George as well, yeah, au revoir, Anthony. Definitely Martial will be topic number one, I think. Samantha, although I say on probably good sources, that's Rob on his wife's phone, but hope you're keeping well, mate. Sam, how are you, lads? All good. And Matt from the Supporters Club, always good to see you, mate. But Larry, where do we want to start? Because Fabrizio Romano has tweeted yesterday. Actually, it was Martial the first thing on my list. I'll just quickly go to my notes. And actually, before we go to my notes, a few people actually in the live chat made me aware a couple of hours before we did go live. Do you remember who signed? Well, obviously in the middle of the January transfer window, we want Man United to confirm they actually can sign footballers in January. Do you remember who we signed on this day in 2014?
Juan Mata?
Just bring it up there, the special one himself. And I just bring it up in terms of January transfers. Does anything beat that in terms of the helicopter arrival? I know people's talked about the piano, but surely the helicopter arrival beat sort of trumps Alexis Sanchez piano announcement.
Look, it's very James Bond-esque and probably in theme because he did have his suit on. A bit shy of a bow tie was Juan Mata, but yeah, I was very excited by this signing. I don't know about you, Tom, but I think it's been a great signing for United. I think we'll inevitably have a chat about him the day he leaves Old Trafford. But James Bond-esque entrance, and I think he's lived up to the hype.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be doing it, whether it be in a couple of days' time when he leaves the club or in the summer. I'm sure we definitely will be having a tribute episode, but a lot of people have obviously guessed the name come out before we put the photo up that it was Juan Mata on this day in 2014. And Larry, that was a club record signing back then in that January. I think it was 36 million pound. Now what does 35 or 36 million pound get you? Definitely not a club transfer record, but
Dan James and a packet of biscuits.
Pretty much. But obviously someone who cost more than Juan Mata a year later. Was it a year later? 2 years later. Obviously Anthony Martial. I don't know where to start on this one because it's not confirmed in regards to the transfer. It is a loan deal to Sevilla. Where do you want to start? Fabrizio Romano confirmed that this is going through. Here we go. He actually tweeted about, usually it happens as soon as we click hang up on the call, but he just tweeted a few minutes ago, Romano, and this is obviously off the back of him confirming it yesterday, but just a bit of a follow-up. He just tweeted a few minutes ago saying Anthony Martial will be in Sevilla in the coming hours. Monchi was working on this deal since 2 months ago. Deal sealed with Manchester United. Straight loan and no option to buy confirmed. So we're going to dissect the ins and outs of this deal, Larry, but just on the front of it, Anthony Martial, loan to Sevilla. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I got to say, a little bit surprised. I thought, given that he had a cameo a couple of days ago against West Ham, he looked positive, he looked lively. You would have thought it was a bit of a strange one, given that he hadn't played in January up until that point. So you have to say on the balance of things, a little bit strange. But look, you look at the January transfer window as a whole, no big surprise. I can't for the life of me understand why he wanted to leave, if I'm being entirely honest, Tom. When you leave Manchester United, particularly when, I guess it is his decision, but he wasn't at the peak of his powers. He wasn't performing like life best level of form. So it is a bit of a strange one because it's generally a step down from Manchester United. I think there are only 2 or 3 clubs you can go to in world football where you can say it's a step up. So on the balance of things, you have to say it's a little bit strange. But in saying that, he hasn't played a lot of football and he's got an opportunity now to go to Spain and prove himself and show us all what he can do.
Well, in the live chat, let us know what you think of the move, because my main issue with the move, not issue with the move, I'm happy to see him go. He wants to leave. Okay, feel free. Whatever happens, happens. However, Sevilla, ever since Jose Mourinho came in, it was always Sevilla he was linked with. And it was just weird. Out of all the clubs, there's a little bit of a Juventus link. But for the last couple of years, there's always been, if he's going to leave United, it's going to go to Sevilla. And just think, out of all the clubs, you just think that is a weird one. And I'm just thinking, is there something more, I don't know, does the agent have a good connection with someone at Sevilla where it just makes no real sense to me. Now, obviously, Sevilla are a good club. Look, they've won the Europa League so many times. And I think I haven't looked at La Liga, but I think they're in a title race. So they're obviously a good club. Got some very good players, and not sort of downplaying the move. But you expect a big player for Manchester United if he was to leave. I don't know, go to PSG or go to one of the Premier League giants or go to a club like Sevilla or one of the Spanish giants. Not that Sevilla sort of are a small team in Spain. But I just don't get how, from the moment he walked through the Manchester United door, his next move was Sevilla. It just screams of his agent having a connection with something there.
I don't know. It could be a few things. And I don't want to say this about Anthony Martial or question his desire or his lack of competitiveness. But I think he's the sort of player who doesn't really want to compete for his spot. I think maybe you can say it's a sense of entitlement. Look, I don't know. I can only speculate. But you look at his behavior and the way that Ralph Rangnick came in, you thought, fight for your place. But he hasn't gone down like that. I think it's clear he wants to be first choice. He probably feels he's at a point in his career where he wants to be. Maybe he's got the one eye on the World Cup and he's thinking he needs to play football. Maybe Didier Deschamps has said something to him in that respect. Look, we'll never know. But in saying that, I think La Liga suits him, Tom. He's a very technical player. He dribbles well. And he doesn't have to, I guess, come up against the most physical of defenses. So anything less than a supreme amount of goals and a wonderful output at Sevilla, you would call this loan a failure because he should be going there and absolutely dominating La Liga.
Well, just this question here, I'll just bring to you and everyone in the live chat as well. Feel free to answer it. Sam here saying, any chance he kills it there and we want him back, or is he going either way? And the reason I think this, you think surely he's gone, he wants to leave, and he's eventually here he is leaving the club. However, we draw up a situation where we don't qualify for the Champions League. Ronaldo leaves, Edison Cavani leaves, Greenwood and Rashford haven't maybe, unfortunately, developed into what we want just yet. Anthony Martial has scored 20 goals in La Liga. Man United calling him back, even if he doesn't want to be in Manchester. Like, is there a scenario where we're praying he comes back and he doesn't want to, then we're in a little bit of a mess?
I don't think so. I think if he kills it, he just increases his transfer value, and he's probably easier to offload at this point. He's taken a wage cut to go there. I think that's an important detail.
But what if we don't have a striker? What if we don't have a striker in 6 months' time and he's the leading scorer in Spain?
Well, I think United will go out and get one. I don't think United will have a choice. There's no point keeping a player who doesn't want to be there, Tom. We've seen it time and time again. And the fact that Rangnick has come in and he's going to import his own philosophy and his own playing style, we simply can't go down this road again. We need players who want to play. It's Manchester United. For Newcastle, we're not mercenaries here. This is a big football club with a rich history. If you don't want to be here, piss off. There's too many players who would die to wear the red of Manchester United. So I don't buy that argument. If you need to sell him, sell him. I think at this point he's just playing for how high his transfer value is. It's simple as that. I don't see him playing for United again.
What do you make of this? Is interesting in terms of the way this deal has been reported, and obviously a lot of Man United fans from a business point of view want to get these wages off the books, get these players off the books. We haven't got a transfer fee for him because it's obviously a loan, but the line is that Sevilla are going to cover his wages. Call me a cynic. I don't buy at all that Sevilla are going to pay his wages, because I assume the average wage, and someone can correct me, is that he's going that the average Sevilla wage, I'm guessing, is about 100K a week. I'm assuming they've probably got a few players on 150, maybe. I suppose even Rakitic is probably on 200 grand. Anthony Martial's on 250 grand a week. I refuse to believe Sevilla are paying him 250 grand a week. There's a report that he's taken a pay cut. I doubt that. No, fair play to him if he is. I've got my doubts about that. I have a feeling United are subsidising some of these wages. And that's not to say they shouldn't do that in terms of if they do want to get rid of him, he wants to go. That's part of business. Sometimes you have to do that. But just your thoughts on, have United spun this quite nicely to say Sevilla paying the wages, and do you believe them? Or just how do you think the business side of this is unfolding?
I don't think so, mate. I actually think he has taken a wage cut and Sevilla are paying the full thing. Reason I say that, it's Fabrizio Romano who's releasing this one. And with all due respect to the Italian journalist, his links to Manchester United, I wouldn't call them super strong. I think his links are clearly in Italy, Spain, and those likes. So I'm going to say with Fabrizio, if he's saying that he's taken a cut and Sevilla are covering it, then I'm going to just back him on his word there.
Oh, yeah. Look, if he's taking a pay cut, a few people mentioned in the chat, 100%, I'm not going to knock him. But being a cynic, I just have a feeling like he's going to knock back if he's got 250 grand a week. Yeah, I'd still be
100K a week is not exactly poor, is he? So I think he'll be fine.
No, definitely. George here saying, hope Martial goes well. If he goes well, he might add some money to his value so we can sell him in the summer. And yeah, I think that is the thing. You just do whatever you think of Anthony Martial. From a Manchester United point of view, I think that's right. You just have to hope he does well. And if United don't want him, well, hopefully we can get an extra 10, 15 million for him after a successful loan spell. But speaking of loan spells, Larry, next on the list, Jesse Lingard. This one is weird. This one I don't get. Now, if Newcastle are going to stump up a fee, so Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Newcastle are in advanced talks, and they're not saying the deal is going to be done, but Newcastle are obviously pushing for Jesse Lingard on loan to the end of the season, and Lingard is happy with that. If Jesse Lingard is going to go there and Newcastle are either going to cover his wages, which is on a fair chunk of wage, but also in regards to a loan fee. If we can get a loan fee and cover some of the wages, I think, okay, it is what it is. Let him go. However, me being the cynic as well and look at Man United and the way they do business, I have a feeling Man United will be covering wages and not getting a loan fee, and him not coming back to the club. If he was a young player and he was going away to Newcastle for a few months and we're going to get a player back, and maybe that player comes back with 6 months more experience, okay, fantastic. However, we're losing him for nothing in the summer. So I don't see how a loan benefits United at all. It should just be sell him and get rid of him. But however, we're loaning him. If there is a loan fee, okay, it is what it is. But yeah, call me a cynic, but for some reason I just don't believe it.
I will call you a cynic. Who spat in your coffee this morning?
When have you seen United get a loan fee for someone like that? Well, when have you seen United not cover the wages? We were paying Alexis Sanchez for 2 years, and we sold Alexis Sanchez and we're still paying him for 2 years.
Yeah, Alexis Sanchez was playing shit for Manchester United. Jesse Lingard, every time he plays well. He plays well when he does play, and the last thing anyone remembers of him is his loan on West Ham, where he had a purple patch of form, where he had the greatest output of anyone in the Premier League. He's got a value. He's a good player.
But in terms of now, what we're doing now over the next few months, in terms of, I can see a situation where we're paying him to play at Newcastle. Bruno Fernandes gets injured. Donny van de Beek's just Donny van de Beek. We're hit by COVID and injury crisis, which very well does happen in this sort of current climate. And suddenly we're out without an attacking midfielder. And we're paying our second best, not our second best, but in terms of maybe a pecking order, in terms of the way Ralph Rangnick wants to play football, is on loan at Newcastle. I just don't see how a loan benefits Man United on the pitch this season.
We've got Bruno. I was about to say Bruno Mars then. Man, wouldn't mind some Bruno Mars. We've got Bruno Fernandes. We've got Donny van de Beek. We've got Juan Mata. And we've got Paul Pogba about to return. We're well stuck.
Jesse Lingard's above Donny van de Beek and Juan Mata in the pecking order.
Is he, though? Donny's played more than Jesse Lingard has.
Oh, I doubt it. No, I disagree. And this is not me saying Lingard shouldn't go on loan to Newcastle or should stay. I just don't see. Can you give me one benefit for Manchester United for Jesse Lingard leaving now?
He wants to play football. He's got to earn the World Cup.
Yeah, that's for Jesse Lingard, and I agree that's good for Jesse Lingard. But how does it benefit Manchester United? Because we have to be selfish in this situation.
There's talk of a £10 million transfer fee. Now, if that is the case.
If there is a fee,
that's ridiculous. Yeah, £10 million. Like, that's a really high transfer, loan fee, considering he's going to go for a free in the summer. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, as a loan fee, because we're not going to get anything for him in the summer. It's great. It's a great opportunity for United. That's £10 million you're otherwise not going to make, and his wages will be covered because it's Newcastle United. They're desperate. They've got the money. They want to stay in the Premier League. They're desperate to make these moves happen. So, yeah, a little bit lucky from Manchester United's perspective, but if you can do the deal, you do it. Simple as that.
Well, Matt here is saying that, if Newcastle have the cash, surely they'll cover him. Well, that's the thing. If Newcastle are paying that £10 million loan fee, great. And if they are covering some of the wages, great. That is something for Manchester United. But I just have a feeling if we're sending there and paying him to play for Newcastle, I don't see how that benefits Manchester United on the pitch over the next couple of months.
That happening.
Fingers crossed, United do a good bit of business, but a good bit of business with Manchester United. Not quite, but who knows? Things might change with Richard Arnold. But let us know your thoughts about Jesse Lingard going to Newcastle. Obviously, he's not going to be at Newcastle next season. If they do go down, he will obviously come back and look for that move to West Ham. But Larry, this is not going to happen. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. But there are somewhat talks, and look, not reliable at all, but it's the current talk, is that Boubacar Kamara is latest in line with a move to Manchester United. It does not look like there's anything concrete in it. It just looks like, okay, Manchester United need to sign someone. Let's throw a name in there. I think Graham Bailey on Twitter, a reliable journalist, has said talks have commenced. I'm sure Man United are talking to Haaland and Mbappe as well. I'm sure talks have commenced with a lot of players. Just your thoughts on the latest Kamara links?
Don't want him, if I'm being honest. The first time you and I spoke about him, can I just remind you that you said he is in a Patrick Vieira mold?
Zakaria, not Boubacar Kamara.
Okay, good man. Okay, yeah, that's fair. Look, I think he is definitely an upgrade. Like I said to you when we discussed John McGinn, I just think United need to be in the market for the best possible signings we can get. Now, I think he's definitely an improvement, and if he's one of two midfielders that come in, 100% support it. But look, like you said, it's January. I don't see it happening. He's a crucial player for RB Leipzig. It's one you can't see happening. In the summer, I think it's definitely a possibility.
Oh, no, sorry. I thought you were talking about Kamara. My bad.
Yeah, I think, I think it's a case of, just in January, you can't see it happening. Like, that's a crucial player for his club in the winter window. I can't see it happening.
Well, can you see anything happening then? Because these names are popping up, whether it be Zakaria, Kamara, Haidara, like there's these names, and what does that tell you if United don't get any deals done? Because obviously Ralph Rangnick has spoken. Ralph Rangnick does want a midfielder. What are they telling Ralph Rangnick if they don't go and invest? Are they saying, we don't really value your opinion and you're just going to be a yes man when you move upstairs? Or two, you're not going to be the Manchester United manager no matter what happens? I'm just thinking, what does the lack of investment short term for Ralph Rangnick tell him?
Look, I think it tells him that his squad is bloated, and if he wants to make signings, he has to let a few go. Now, Martial going out is definitely a step in the right direction. Lingard, but Lingard's the only one that you're certain will be gone for good, given he will leave on a free in the summer. United squad is bloated. Now, I know as football fans, we don't want to care about the business side of things, but at the end of the day, when you've got that many players on the wages that we have them on, you just simply need to free up cash before you bring players in. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. So if you don't care about the business side of football, start caring, because if we don't get players off the wage bill, I don't think you're going to even see a busy summer transfer window. Now, that's me being cynical, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, well, Ahmad's saying the same thing here. Saying enough names on the roster, and it is sort of proven to be the stumbling block. But I'm just thinking there, we're talking about, okay, I'm taking a selfish approach and saying what's best for Manchester United. How do these loans benefit us if they're going to leave in 6 months and not be a footballer for Manchester United? However, we talk about that in terms of Martial's personal ambitions or Jesse Lingard's personal ambitions. I'll go back to the start of the podcast and talking about Juan Mata, who wants to move to Spain, or Donny van der Beek, who wants to move anywhere. He'll go to Man United reserves if he has to. But we're sort of blocking these moves. Dean Henderson, we're blocking these moves. And I'm just thinking, let's just use it. Look, I'll put a selfish hat on Juan Mata's situation. He's a good servant for the club. You could argue Jesse Lingard and Anthony Martial. You could have a debate on who's sort of done more for Manchester United on the pitch over the years. We're letting these players go. We're sort of not caving to their demands, but we're saying, okay, we'll do the deal. But we're not doing a deal for players who simply aren't playing. It just makes no sense to me. It comes back to these little things when Patrice Evra spoke about Ed Woodward and sort of extended his contract without letting him know. And Patrice Evra, what a servant for Manchester United. And we're seemingly treating our better servants like dog shit and sort of getting the players who sort of don't have that great rapport with the fans. We're sort of rewarding them with what they want.
Well, let me flip it. There were reports coming out that Richard Arnold has reached out to ex-Manchester United players. Now, I'm very curious around why he'd be doing that. Is he trying to gauge what their opinions are on the club, what they think Ed Woodward, his predecessor, did poorly? And what do you make of that report? Because I think that ties in, because Patrice Evra, like you said, he's been critical of Ed Woodward. And the runnings of the club. Now, everything coming out has suggested Richard Arnold wants to be hands-off on the football operation, and that's something I would definitely support, and I'm sure you and every other Manchester United fan would. But what do you make of that? Do you think he'll look to do things differently? Do you think we'll stop seeing players have their contracts renewed with a year left? Do you think we'll actually look to be proactive rather than reactive? Say, in the likes of a Paul Pogba situation, do we look to offload that player when he's got 2 years left on his deal? As opposed to what we see, I guess, this shambolic scenario where he's going to go on a free again.
I think it's hard. I think there's two different debates there. And I think one, look, ideally, it goes in a case of that's Ralph Rangnick's decision. That's Ralph Rangnick, his input in the game. I don't think Richard Arnold will know a thing about that. He's the one signing the checks or ticking off the deal, but that's Ralph Rangnick's influence on a football club. In regards to your point of Richard Arnold reaching out to sort of club legends, things like that always get a lot of criticism with Manchester United saying, we're sort of going back to the Fergie days and we have to move on from Fergie, which I couldn't agree more. We do need to sort of move on and forget that in the past. However, Manchester United is a club steeped in history where you still need to sort of revert back and listen to players who have been and gone. There's no point just throwing them to the side. They have been there and done it. And Manchester United is a special club. It's not saying do everything Gary Neville and Roy Keane says, but you have to go listen to them. So I think that it is a good thing. Now, Richard Arnold might listen to them and say, I disagree with you completely. I'm going to run it exactly like Ed Woodward. He's the CEO. He can do what he wants type thing. However, I do like the idea because, and what he'd be asking, I have no idea. I assume it's along the lines of almost a bit of PR. Like, what does this look like? What should we be doing? And not what should we be doing in terms of, okay, should we give Pogba a contract extension or should we sell him a year early? I just think in regards to just little things. I don't know what those little things are, but just a bit of positive PR. We talk about Roy Keane or Gary Neville talking about social media and players sort of taking responsibility for their social media and post-match interviews. I just think little PR things like that, which Roy Keane and Gary Neville and Paul Scholes are always so critical of. I think that those are the things, and those are the things that hurt the club. When you have club legends speaking negatively about the club, it's a bad look. So I think that's what Richard Arnold is going to, in my opinion, that's what he's going to be trying to address with those players or ex-players.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think this is the one thing that Manchester United need to get right. And I'm not too critical of him doing this. I think when you hear Gary Neville speak, he's actually got a good football mind. And he's got a good business sense too. Obviously, he's a key stakeholder in Salford FC. So I don't think it would do him any harm to at least talk to people, and obviously he'll make his own decisions. But we can't sit here and pretend that Ed Woodward has been the perfect CEO. He's not the prototype for what you want to be following. I've seen Gary Neville come out and say United should be getting the best in class and everything. And Richard Arnold should absolutely be striving to do that. Now, if he acknowledges he's got a gap in terms of football operations, I think Gary Neville's a good mind to pick apart. So we'll see how things go. But I hope, Tom, that in 12 months from now, when we're doing these sorts of videos, when there are players who don't want to sit at Manchester United, that they're being transferred out for a reasonable fee, that we're buying players for reasonable wages. I just want to see the structure of the club move in a more positive direction, because this all ties into the bigger picture, doesn't it? The fact that we've had to debate whether Martial will leave or not due to the ridiculous wage he's on, it all comes back to one man, and that's Ed Woodward. So hopefully you see a level of improvement at United over the coming years.
Yeah, well, good to see Lee here, one of our listeners over from the UK. Yes, live. Spot on. Blame Ollie a bit, though. They shouldn't have been given new contracts. Been given new contracts at least a year earlier. So, yeah, look, it'll be fascinating. I think that decision or that area will be Ralph Rangnick. Hopefully it'll be Ralph Rangnick in terms of he's given that influence to go and sort of make decisions and have input there. In a Manchester United scenario, I could very well see that not happening and they're not taking Ralph Rangnick's words seriously.
Lee's comment said, "Live, baby, whoop, whoop. Show some enthusiasm. Come on, you didn't even read the whole thing."
You can read the comments out for me.
Jesus.
And Matt here saying
them on my phone. So.
And Matt saying fixing the stadium would be start. The fans have been screaming for it. Gary Neville might convince Richard Arnold. So the stadium is the first thing. I think we all sort of frustrated. We want transfers. We want player wages to come down. We want results. Ultimately, we're a football club and the stadium is falling apart. So a new lick of paint would be a sort of very much appreciated on the Old Trafford Stadium. Before we wrap up, and again, hopefully everyone is enjoying the chat. If you are in the live chat, please do leave a like on the video and make sure you get your thoughts in on this last topic. Larry, manager shortlist has been apparently reportedly drawn up. I think Daniel Taylor from The Athletic have brought it up in terms of 4 managers. I've got them here. Obviously, Ten Hag, Pochettino, the Spanish guy, Lopetegui, obviously had that short spell with Spain, and obviously Luis Enrique, which is a weird shout. Obviously the top manager, but
short spell with Real Madrid, you mean?
Who did he get the sack from? No, sorry. Did he go to Real Madrid and got the sack because he took the Spain job?
After 3 months. No, he didn't take the Spain job. Or maybe he did, but he's the one who got sacked from Real Madrid after a 3-month tenure.
Yeah, I think because he wanted it in Spain. It was a weird one. I'm sure someone in the comments will know exactly what was happening. But that guy, obviously, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but obviously Luis Enrique, obviously Barcelona.
Lopetegui.
manager. And just what are you making of that? Obviously, Pochettino and Ten Hag obviously got to be on the list. Do you think there is a manager shortlist that they're going to sit down with 4 managers and interview them, or do you just think this is a story to keep the debate sort of relevant?
No, I think United are going through a shortlist like they did for the interim manager job. Now, who's the favourite? Who's your preference? I guess that's the interesting one.
1 week will be Ten Hag, the next will be Pochettino, then it'll be someone else.
It's not a strong list, is it? I think that shows you where, I hate to say it, I don't mean it as a stick to beat United with, but it shows where United have fallen. We're not even demanding the best in class anymore. I think Ten Hag is the most attractive one, but I think with all 4 managers, there are flaws. I think with Pochettino, hasn't won silverware. Ten Hag, yeah, I think his rebuild job, it's definitely impressive. I think the fact he's built Ajax back from a side that got absolutely gutted, you have to say power to him. But in saying that, they're the biggest club in Holland. He should be impressing. He should be doing a good job. He's got the resources to do it. Yes, Manchester United's a different kettle of fish, but, you know, when you're the biggest club in Holland, you are expected to win, and I think he is doing that. Lopetegui, look, like we said, he got the one massive job he got. He failed miserably. Now, I know Ronaldo had just left at Real Madrid. It's probably difficult when that happens. Of course it is. But the results he got there were awful. And it's going to be big players. It's going to be scrutiny, much like Real Madrid. It's much a similar kettle of fish. So, now he's done well with Sevilla. You can't deny that. They're competitive in La Liga. They might get a Champions League spot. So there's an argument to say he's done a good job. He might be that sort of manager in the David Moyes mold. Maybe he's not quite up to the biggest jobs in world football. There's flaws in all of them, Tom, and I think that's the concern.
Yeah, no, well, in terms of, okay, there's 4 managers where you think, okay, are they good enough? Aren't they good enough? Well, what would you prefer? A manager of that level who you can say, are they sort of Manchester United caliber, or let's who are the 2 best managers, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp? Can you see a scenario where Pep Guardiola succeeds at United? Best manager in the world. I don't see how he succeeds at United. So what do we want? Do we want a better manager, or this? I don't want to call Pochettino or Ten Hag a lesser manager, but ultimately, I think we do need to forget their flaws. We just need to look at the strengths in terms of their suitability for Manchester United.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you, and I think Ten Hag, in that respect, ticks the most boxes. Pardon me. You've got Ajax, very similar to United in terms of ethos. They believe in promoting from within, so I think that's a tick in Erik Ten Hag's box. Look, he has been successful. It's domestic, yeah, it's Holland, but look, he can only win in the jobs he's given. You know what I mean? And all the evidence so far in his career suggests he's doing an outstanding job. And I think, look at his philosophy in football. The way Ajax play is positive. It's attacking. It's something that Manchester United fans would resonate with. So, all in all, I think he ticks the most boxes. And the biggest thing, he's got silverware. I think, unfortunately, with Pochettino, he did a lot of good at Spurs. I don't think he'd be an awful appointment, but he's never won silverware. So the second we get to a final or a semi-final, you can imagine the articles that are going to come out.
Does your argument there change? Does your argument change if he wins the Champions League with PSG this year?
If he wins the Champions League with PSG, does he then stay at PSG, though, I think? Yeah. Look, if he wins the Champions League at PSG, you have to put your hands up and say, job well done. In saying that, with their squad, shouldn't they be winning it? I mean, look, I know Manchester City are probably the favourites.
Yeah, Manchester City, I thought you meant Manchester United. Didn't we agree last week that Harry Maguire was lifting big ears?
Oh, imagine that. That would be something. But look, if I'm being honest, Tom, Manchester City, they're so strong. They've basically got the league sewn up, and you're looking at the Champions League now. I mean, I dread it because the second they've got one, they're only 2 away from United, and they've got a lot of domestic success as well. So, I mean, they've made a lot of ground in 15-odd years, haven't they?
Have they made that ground, or have we just not made? Have we gone backwards?
Perfect storm of both, I think.
A bit of both. Emad here, in regards to his previous comment, Tom say G Nizzle. I wrote G Nizzle, so you need to get a super chat in for those to continue. Emad, when we're available for super chats, and Larry gives us a honk from the football capital.
There you go.
Exactly. So hopefully everyone did appreciate that. Obviously, a bit of transfer talk. Jesse Lingard and Anthony Martial. Obviously, nothing officially confirmed, but does look like that is going to happen, especially the Anthony Martial situation to Sevilla. I'm sure Jesse Lingard, it's a weird situation because he's obviously landed in Dubai with Manchester United. They're there for a little bit of training, but I've then seen Scott McTominay playing golf in Scotland. So I don't know, half the players are away, half are in Dubai. I'm not sure exactly what is happening there, but hopefully deals can get done. I'm sure we'll go live in a couple of days with a little bit more, hopefully, incoming transfer news. But time will tell. But hopefully everyone did appreciate that. Make sure you please do leave a like on the video. Make Larry and I very happy. And if you are new, if you could click subscribe, that would be great. And Larry, always a pleasure, mate. Thank God your audio held up. Apologies for the delay at the start of the podcast. I couldn't hear Larry for 5 minutes talking. And then we said, we'll risk it. And then we went live and his audio came through clear. So fingers crossed and touch wood that happens again. But always a pleasure, mate.
Thanks, mate. Cheers for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, hope everyone has a good night, and we'll chat to you probably in a couple of days. Cheers. Bye.